Hi guys, and welcome to Tech Temple. So in today's video, we'll be showing you what is a ransomware attack, what are the consequences of a ransomware attack, and what can you do against these attacks. Without further ado, let's begin. So first of all, let's see what is a ransomware attack. Ransomware is a form of malware that encrypts a victim's files. The attacker then demands a ransom from the victim to restore access to the data upon payment. Users are shown instructions for how to pay a fee to get the decryption key. The costs can range from a few $100s to thousands, payable to cybercriminals in Bitcoin. There are a number of vectors ransomware can take to access a computer. One of the most common delivery systems is phishing spam. Attachments that come to the victim in an email masquerading as a file they should trust. Once they're downloaded and opened, they can take over the victim's computer, especially if they have built-in social engineering tools that trick users into allowing administrative access. Some other more aggressive forms of ransomware, like NotPetya, exploit security holes to infect computers without needing to trick users. There are several things the malware might do once it's taken over the victim's computer, but by far, the most common action is to encrypt some or all of the user's files. If you want the technical details, the InfoSec Institute has a great in-depth look at how several flavors of ransomware encrypt files. But the most important thing to know is that at the end of the process, the files cannot be decrypted without a mathematical key known only by the attacker. The user is presented with a message explaining that their files are now inaccessible and will only be decrypted if the victim sends an untraceable Bitcoin payment to the attacker. In some forms of malware, the attacker might claim to be a law enforcement agency, shutting down the victim's computer due to the presence of bad material or pirated software on it, and demanding the payment of a fine, perhaps to make victims less likely to report the attack to authorities. But most attacks don't bother with this pretense. There's also a variation called leakware or doxware, in which the attacker threatens to publicize sensitive data on the victim's hard drive unless a ransom is paid. But because finding and extracting such information is a very tricky proposition for attackers, encryption ransomware is by far the most common type. There are several different ways attackers choose the organizations they target with ransomware. Sometimes it's a matter of opportunity. For instance, attackers might target universities because they tend to have smaller security teams and a disparate user base that does a lot of file sharing, making it easier to penetrate their defenses. On the other hand, some organizations are tempting targets because they seem more likely to pay a ransom quickly. For instance, government agencies or medical facilities often need immediate access to their files. Law firms and other organizations with sensitive data may be willing to pay to keep the news of a compromise quiet, and these organizations may be uniquely sensitive to leakware attacks. Consequences of ransomware attacks. The impact of a ransomware attack to your company could include the following temporary and possibly permanent loss of your company data, possibly a complete shutdown of your company's operations, financial loss as a result of revenue-generating operations being shut down, financial loss associated with remediation efforts, damage to your company's reputation. The frequency of ransomware attacks is increased by 3 times in 2017 over 2016. If we take the ratio of 2020 and 2021, an attack occurs every 40 seconds in 2021, while in 2020, every 2 minutes. There is a mobile ransomware attack increase of 250% in 2021. There were 4.3 times new ransomware variants in 2021, and in 2020, 75% of ransomware victims lost access to data for more than 2 days, and 67% of businesses hit by an attack permanently lost all or part of their data. Nearly 75% of targeted businesses don't have the proper security measures in place to avoid infection. If you're enjoying the video, then make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing technology videos. In 1989, a Harvard-educated evolutionary biologist named Dr. Joseph L. Popp pioneered the prototypical ransomware attack by mailing 20,000 floppy disks disguised as AIDS education software to medical research institutions in 90 different countries. The disks contained a Trojan horse virus that encrypted the victim's files and prompted them to print out a demand for a $189 licensing fee to be sent to a Panamanian address. Dr. Popp claimed his motive had in fact been to steal money for AIDS research and a judge eventually found him mentally unfit to stand trial, while his virus itself proved relatively easy to cure. The actual concept of ransomware, however, has in the past 40 years grown into something of an internet plague. Ransomware has become especially profitable in the 2010s, causing $5 billion in losses in 2020 alone. Though a decline in occurrences the following year has led some to speculate that many cybercriminals are turning to cryptojacking, a similar method of manipulating someone else's computer to mine cryptocurrency, ransomware remains a very real and prevalent threat, as illustrated by some of the more high-profile recent examples. One of the first major viruses that opened up the age of ransomware was CryptoLocker, which burst onto the scene in 2013 and affected over 500,000 machines at the height of its power. CryptoLocker was eventually defeated by a white hat hacker campaign that brought down the botnet that controlled it, but variants of the file encryption ransomware went on to harvest $3 million. The pervasive TeslaCrypt ransomware shook down hardcore gamers by targeting and holding ransom ancillary files associated with their video games, including saved maps and downloadable content. By 2016, TeslaCrypt was responsible for 48% of ransomware attacks, but the malware's reign of terror ended that year when its creators unexpectedly announced that they were finished and revealed the master decryption key. More serious was the WannaCry attack of 2017, which in a matter of a few days spread to 116 countries and racked up hundreds of thousands of infections, shutting down radio stations in California and hospitals in the Ukraine. What can you do against these attacks? There are a number of defensive steps you can take to prevent ransomware infection. These steps are, of course, good security practices in general, so following them improves your defenses from all sorts of attacks. Keep your operating system patched and up to date to ensure you have less vulnerability to exploit. Don't install software or give it administrative privileges unless you know exactly what it is and what it does. Install antivirus software, which detects malicious programs like ransomware as they arrive, and whitelisting software, which prevents unauthorized applications from executing in the first place. And of course, back up your files frequently and automatically. That won't stop a malware attack, but it can make the damage caused by one much less significant. Since phishing is a popular method of spreading ransomware attacks, individuals should avoid opening emails and email attachments from unfamiliar sources. Backing up important data to an external hard drive and using a cloud service can also create a safe space for your most important files, making you less vulnerable to malicious attackers who might seek to capture and hold them ransom. Companies and other large organizations have much greater risks and responsibilities when it comes to protecting themselves against ransomware attacks. As such, information systems professionals who understand these threats and how to prevent them are in high demand. You can learn more about ransomware attacks through UAB's online MSMIS, which offers a cybersecurity management concentration that focuses on cyber attacks and the cutting-edge threat mitigation techniques that are used to protect sensitive information. But here's the most important thing to keep in mind. While walking through these steps can remove the malware from your computer and restore it to your control, it won't decrypt your files. Their transformation into unreadability has already happened, and if the malware is at all sophisticated, it will be mathematically impossible for anyone to decrypt them without access to the key that the attacker holds. In fact, by removing the malware, you've precluded the possibility of restoring your files by paying the attackers the ransom they've asked for. So guys, let me know down in the comments section below if you have any questions. For more interesting content, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Have a nice day, and I'll see you on the next video.